David Goggins is often called the toughest man alive. He is the only person to have completed Navy SEAL training, Army Ranger training, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. He went through 3 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks, finishing 2 of them. Goggins once set a world record by doing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. He also placed 3rd in the Badwater Ultramarathon and has completed over 60 ultramarathons. His drive to max out truly shows his determination. Goggins' journey to success was anything but easy. He faced numerous challenges, from an abusive father to learning disabilities and obesity. Despite achieving far more than anyone imagined, he continues to push himself, breaking barriers and setting new standards for personal growth. In 2018, he shared his story in his memoir Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds, which highlights the intense struggles he endured to become who he is today. But his achievements are just part of his story. It's his lessons on pushing through limits that captivate us. David grew up in Buffalo, New York, with his mother and brother, living in constant fear of their alcoholic father, who often became violent. Goggins eventually stood up to him after seeing his father nearly beat his mother unconscious. Though he was terrified, Goggins protected her, refusing to let fear control him. The physical and emotional scars from those years are unforgettable, but they didn't define him. When his mother moved them to Indiana, the trauma continued. He faced bullying and threats due to his race, witnessed a tragic accident, and lost his mother's fiancé to murder. Yet, Goggins didn't let these hardships control his future. As a young man, Goggins struggled with self-worth. Despite his cries for help, no one came to his aid. No programs or external forces changed his life for him. But today, he looks back at those struggles with pride. After dropping out of school and having no direction, his future seemed bleak. Yet, Goggins turned his life around, proving that greatness is possible no matter how difficult the journey. David Goggins joined the Army but didn't make it through due to having sickle cell trait. However, as he later admitted, the real reason he failed was fear. After leaving the Army, he became severely overweight and spent his days doing low-paying jobs that required little interaction or skill. One of those jobs involved spraying for cockroaches in dirty restaurants after closing time. One night, after coming home with a milkshake in hand, Goggins saw a commercial on TV. The ad showed young men going through Navy SEAL training, enduring physical challenges that seemed brutal. Watching these fit, determined men made something click in him. He realized that while he had spent his whole life avoiding discomfort, it had always found him. Right then, he made a decision to stop running from pain. That moment marked the beginning of his transformation. Despite his difficult past and the obstacles in his way, Goggins decided to embrace the struggle. Instead of running from fear and pain, he chose to face them head-on. That decision changed everything for him. He quit his cockroach-spraying job and applied to join the Navy SEALs with one goal in mind: to turn one of the weakest men into one of the strongest. At first, no one believed in him. People mocked him, saying he was black and fat. But Goggins didn't let their words affect him. He worked relentlessly, losing over 100 pounds in just 3 months, while also studying hard. His determination paid off, and he was accepted into SEAL training. This was only the beginning. Goggins went on to complete the grueling Hell Week multiple times, enduring extreme sleep deprivation, freezing conditions, and harsh treatment from the instructors. What he had once seen on TV was now his reality, but far tougher. While most people struggle to finish just one Hell Week, Goggins faced it more than once due to injuries. He was rolled back because of double pneumonia and then a fractured kneecap. But even with his body breaking down, his spirit remained strong. Where others with more advantages gave up, Goggins kept going. He didn't just survive, he came out of it transformed, no longer just an ordinary man, but David Goggins, the hero he was always meant to become. David Goggins went on to push himself in ways that seem almost impossible to the average person. His achievements include completing over 60 ultramarathons while raising money for the children of fallen soldiers. He also completed Delta Force training and set the Guinness World Record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours. Despite undergoing multiple heart surgeries for a congenital heart defect, he kept pushing forward. He even became one of the best live recruiters for the US Navy, traveling the country to share his story and inspire others, an impressive feat for a man once labeled as learning disabled and who struggled with stuttering. When asked what he wanted in life, his answer was straightforward: to be uncommon among uncommon people. That's the essence of David Goggins' journey. Take from it what you will. The lesson I've learned is this: hard work doesn't care about your background or circumstances. It doesn't consider your pain or victimhood. It's a universal principle that rewards anyone willing to embrace it. We all have the power to not just survive, but thrive. This brings us back to the original point. Today is the best time in history because there are endless opportunities to create wealth, health, and happiness. The only price for it all is turning toward the very things you don't want to face. Most people put in just 5 or 10% of their best effort each day. When things get tough, they give in to procrastination and laziness. That's why I believe we live in both the best and worst of times. But if you choose to push yourself a little more and embrace the struggle, greatness is within reach. 5 things I learned from David Goggins' book Can't Hurt Me. 1. Motivation is useless. Become obsessed. Motivation is worthless. It's just a tiny spark that fades quickly. People can read something and get motivated, but then a bad day comes along, and that motivation disappears. I figured out that's how the mind works. I needed more than just motivation. I had to be obsessed, so much so that people thought I was crazy. You need to get to a point in life where skipping the things you're supposed to do really bothers you. It should eat away at you. If you miss a task and think, "No big deal, I'll do it tomorrow," then you haven't reached that level of obsession yet. 2. Taking souls, aim for excellence. There are so many people who lack confidence. Even the toughest Navy SEALs have their own struggles. Alpha males don't like seeing anyone do better than them. You need to understand the human mind and how it operates. They picture themselves being beaten down during tough times, so I thought, how can I win this mental battle? The answer was simple: I had to occupy space in their minds. I had to show them that at their lowest point, I'm at my peak. That's how I took their soul. They looked at me and thought, how did they pull off something I couldn't even imagine doing? 3. Embrace discomfort, build mental toughness. We all have a voice in our head that tells us we can do better. But there's also another voice that says, nah, let's skip that. Whatever the voice was telling me that made me uncomfortable, that's what I knew I had to do. I had to stop listening to the comfortable voice. It leads us down the path of least resistance, and I had to reject that and chase discomfort instead. 4. Remember your cookie jar, draw strength from past wins. When I look back on my past successes, I'm not just reminiscing. I actually tap into the emotions I felt during those wins, which fires up my nervous system again. We all have a cookie jar inside us. Life has always thrown challenges our way, and even if you're feeling down right now, I bet you can recall a moment when you beat the odds and tasted victory. 5. The 40% rule, push beyond your limits. Think of the human body like a high-performance car. We all have untapped potential and a governor that limits our speed. In a car, the governor caps performance. If you remove it, the car can go way faster. For humans, the governor is buried deep within our minds and is tied to our identity. It's aware of everything we've experienced, our fears, limitations, and insecurities. It uses pain, exhaustion, and fear to make us quit before we hit our true limits. The reality is, when most of us think we've hit our maximum, we've only given 40% of what we're capable of. Once you understand that, it's all about building your pain tolerance and pushing yourself beyond those mental boundaries. Let go of your self-imposed limits, and you can push past 60%, 80%, and beyond.